Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Brightchester, which is the world that we got with the Sims 4 Discover University expansion pack, and I'm going to be building a fraternity house, or most commonly known as a frat house. Now I'm going to be honest with you, I don't actually know too much about fraternity houses, but I don't think that's much of a surprise considering that I am English and also a girl, because from my understanding a fraternity house in the US is a housing system that you go into at a university and it's predominantly boys, whereas sororities are for girls. Now obviously I am English, I've never been to university in the US. I went to university, but I went to university in London, and let me tell you, uni in London and uni in the US, from what I've seen, two completely different ball games, completely different from one another. But I really wanted to sit down and build a frat house for my save file, because this house is going to be for my save, and I basically used the ideas that I've seen from so many films over the years that kind of feature university housing systems and tried to implement them and put them all into one. Now if I'm being truthful, I've actually lost count the amount of times that I've come into my game and I've tried to build a fraternity house on this lot for my save file, and the amount of times I've just bulldozed the buildings that I've done. I've just been trying for months to sit down and actually build a fraternity house that makes sense and looks like it fits in, but also stands out from the rest of the buildings. Because if you was to ever look at a fraternity house, say if you see one in a film or if you Google pictures of them, stereotypically and traditionally they're normally quite colonial kind of buildings, quite traditional looking. They normally have big grand columns at the front. But the way that the world of Brightchester is kind of like sectioned up, there's the modern area, which is the Foxbury area, which we're building in, and then there's the University of Brightchester area, which is the more traditional colonial kind of style of buildings. And so I have been struggling for many months trying to figure out how am I going to build something that's modern that also looks like a frat house, because I don't want to build a completely ultra modern build, because to me that's not what a fraternity is in my mind, just from going off what I've seen in the films. But I finally was able to actually build something that I'm so proud of. I love this build, I really like the way it came together, and I think personally from the outside it looks like a fraternity house and it fits in with the world. One thing that I tried to do to kind of make it fit in with the surrounding buildings was I tried to use similar kind of wallpapers, the similar kind of windows and the same roof texture. But then I also wanted it to be very obvious that this was the house down this street that was a frat house. Like say if your Sims were coming from a different area in Brightchester, they heard that there was a massive party in this particular frat house, because I imagine this to be a massive party place where all of you university Sims are going to come on maybe a Friday or a Saturday night. This is the kind of place that I imagine your university Sims are going to be. But I wanted it to be apparent for if your Sims were walking down the street and they were trying to find the frat house party, which one is it? I tried to make it very obvious by using so many different banners and flags and signs and stuff. One thing that I actually did is I actually placed down this like live edit flag thing. I placed down at two either side of the entrance. You can kind of see I've just kind of moved onto the landscape, but you see on the left hand side there's these two little poles. They're not actually meant to be for the University of Foxbury, I don't think anyway, but they had similar colours to the colour scheme, because the colour scheme for Foxbury is more so red, orange and yellow, whereas for the University of Brightchester, it's actually really confusing, but for the University of Brightchester it's more so green and white off memory. So what I did is I actually found these flags in the debug menu and the live edit menu, and they were kind of a little bit red, and so I thought, right, that fits in perfectly. I also found some other ones which I actually placed at the back of that platform, which I actually placed down into the garden. They also looked like they had some Foxbury related colours on them, and so I thought they would just kind of add to the idea of this being a university house. And then obviously I've got the massive banner at the entrance of the back garden, which is absolutely huge. It's obviously from Discover University. It's got the university colours on it, and it's also got the university mascot, which I believe it's called Larry the Lobster. Going off memory, I could be completely wrong. I might just be getting Discover University and SpongeBob mixed up here, because there is Larry the Lobster in SpongeBob, but I'm pretty sure it's called Larry the Lobster anyway. But it's got the lobster on it, that's the mascot for Foxbury, and then for University of Brightchester the mascot is a dragon. And there's just kind of all these different kind of university related items, all these different banners and flags, and just kind of all this kind of merch, if you want, for the university, placed all around the garden and also in the inside of this house. But moving on, actually talking about the inside of this house, so this house sleeps 6 Sims. Now there is 2 rooms, both rooms have 2 single beds in, so they can sleep 4 Sims in total. Then there is 1 single room which is a single bed in, and there is also 1 room which is kind of like a double room, which I imagine that the fraternity leader, or like the frat party house leader of the frat house, would sleep in, like the head of this fraternity, they will sleep in the room with a double bed. Obviously you can change it depending on what you want to do for gameplay, but that was just kind of like the idea that I had. Now with the Sims 4 university system, I believe you can actually have up to 10 Sims living on a lot when you go to university, because say if you had a single Sim, you move them into a dorm, there's going to be roommates that actually move into the dorm with your Sim, so your Sim's basically not on their own and they actually have people to interact with. But from my experience playing for university, it's an absolute headache to have 10 Sims roaming about, or even just more than 6 to be fair. It's just a headache because there's so many different Sims. They've all got these things that they're doing. You might have one person playing the violin in one room. You might have another person that's got their partner coming round, and some Sims might want to throw a party. And that's okay. But sometimes when you have a full household of the maximum amount of roommates that you can have, it's a bit chaotic. And so what I decided to do was only make it for 6 Sims, which I feel like is quite doable. I imagine it would be a single Sim. Say if you was wanting to download this house, I imagine you would have a single Sim and then there will be 5 other roommates, because that way as well you can actually be friends with them. Because when you have a household full of like 10 or whatever Sims, you never interact with them because there's so many, and you meet them, you get to know them, you know what they like and what their traits are, and then they move out the next day because there's only a week-long process of actually living in the dorm. Obviously your Sims can actually stay in the dorm, but in my experience sometimes your roommates will move out and new ones will come in, and it's just a bit much. So I decided to make it for 6 Sims. Now originally when I was actually doing the floor plan, you would have seen I actually did, I think it was 4 or 5 rooms in the basement. Basically, originally in the basement there was going to be an extra 2 bedrooms, but shortly after I actually did the floor plan, I remembered how much of a pain it actually is to have a big number of Sims living under one roof, and so I decided to delete the 2 bedrooms in the basement. But in the basement is still there. I felt like it was very suiting for a frat house to have a basement. So in the basement it's basically like a massive party room. Maybe if it's winter and it's snowing outside and your Sims want to have a party, instead of being in the back garden where it's cold and snowing, they can go downstairs into the basement. There is also a gym, because I felt like these students were really into their fitness. I was thinking that they're actually in the football club or the soccer club. I always refer to it as a football club because I call football, even though it's called soccer in the UK. It's so confusing, I talk about this all the time. But I imagine that they're in the soccer club. I also imagine that they're going to be quite athletic kind of Sims. That's the kind of idea that I had in mind for all these Sims are going to live in this house. And yeah, but anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've basically done the whole back garden as I've just been rambling on. So in the back garden, it is just filled with all these different kind of university activities. I'm not gonna lie, actually, when I was coming around and I was playtesting this house, which by the way, this house is playtested, if you do decide to download it, you won't run into any problems, because all the problems that I found, I don't even remember what they were. They were so like minor, but actually no, one of the problems that I found was I actually used the Dream Home Decorator wardrobe system. When you can create your own wardrobes. I used that in the big kind of like the fraternity leader's bedroom, but I actually placed the clothes the wrong way around, and I couldn't figure it out for the longest time why my Sim couldn't get changed. And then it was like small minor things like that. But if you do decide to download this house, then everything works and you shouldn't run into any problems. But yeah, when I was playtesting this house, I remembered how fun university was, and I actually got my Sim to playtest it with another Sim. Normally I just have a single Sim that I go around and playtest builds with, and then obviously if I'm building a family home and there's like toddler items or children items, I'll just quickly create a child or a toddler or whatever. I created another adult Sim, and I actually forgot how fun university was, and I was watching them like play ping pong together and play cards together and do foosball, and it was a lot of fun. So I might actually have to create a new household soon and get a Sim to move into this fraternity house, because it's just got so much in it that your Sim's never going to get bored. But I feel like I say that all the time as well, your Sim's are never going to get bored, but I like to feel pretty much every single house that I do with multiple gameplay activities. So one, you don't get bored, and two, your Sims are not going to get bored. But yeah, in the back garden there is this massive kind of like DJ area where you can actually hire a DJ to come and play some music at your Sims parties, or if you want to, you can actually get your Sims to actually practice playing some music or DJ mixing. There is also a large like grass area, which I imagine would be the dance floor, because we did actually get dance floors which you can actually place down on the ground, but none of them I really felt like would actually fit in with the back garden. I didn't feel like this frat house would actually have a proper, you know, that's your dance floor, like this marble flooring in the middle of the grass. Didn't make any sense to me, and so I didn't actually purposely put one down. If you wanted to and you actually wanted there to be an allocated dance floor, then you could definitely just add one in, but your Sims will just dance on the grass anyway. But there is also a ping pong table, there is multiple different juice kegs, there is a bubble blower, and there is also a little bar area as well. Now the bar area is actually one from, I think, City Living. I didn't want to put like a proper, you know, traditional classic looking bar into the back garden because it wouldn't make any sense. So the one that I actually used is kind of like a pop-up one. It's got all these little fairy lights on it. It's really sweet. I actually turned it around so you can't actually hire a bartender, but you can actually still make drinks. If you wanted to, again, you could just turn it around and then your Sims could hire bartenders and DJ headliners and all sorts to have the best entertainment for their frat parties. But moving on into the inside of this build, I've already done the hallway entrance area into kind of like the house itself and also the lounge room, and now I've actually moved on into the kitchen. Now I do want to mention, in the hallway I actually placed a banner right above the archway kind of leading into the rest of the hallway, and it was a green and yellow banner. Don't worry, I got rid of it because I realised there's kind of a little bit of tension between Brightchester University and Foxbury, so I removed it because I didn't want it to seem like it was anything related to Brightchester. If you managed to see it and you was thinking, hang on, that's not the same colours, I deleted it. But also, on the same token as that, one thing that I want to have for my save file and for this frat house is to actually have all the members be a part of a club, one of the clubs that we actually get with Get Together. Now the club system with Get Together is so good and I want to utilise it as much as possible for my save. There's going to be so many different clubs, like countless different clubs, and one of the clubs is going to be for this frat house. Now I was thinking of all the different kind of symbols that this like club frat house could have, and the one that I felt like was best suited for them just happened to be the bear symbol, but also with that, the background of the flag is green. Now, of course, if it bothers you and you want there to be no mention of Brightchester University in this house, as it is meant to be for Foxbury, then you can obviously change it to a different colour. I just felt like it suited this frat house perfectly, and I used that flag quite a few times. I think I used it in the basement. I think I used it in maybe one of the bedrooms or something. But I didn't want to restrict myself. I didn't want to go into the furnishing this building and be like, right, you can't use any green or any yellow, because that's quite limiting. And you can actually see that I've actually placed down a banner on the wall that is literally green and yellow, the colours of Brightchester University. But it's kind of like advertising some sort of drink. And so I just thought, you know, I'm just going to put it in. I'm not going to limit myself. But of course, if it bothers you, you can just switch it up and change the build in any way, shape or form that you want to. But now, as you can see, I've actually now moved on into the dining room. Now, quickly in the kitchen, I just tried to basically make it look like a university kitchen. And I've already moved on from it, but you're probably wondering why I placed down a cone into the kitchen. I also placed down a cone in the back garden as well, actually. But I don't know if it's just the universities that I've visited and I've been to, but it seems to be a trend with UK anyway, that there's always a traffic cone in a university house or flat somewhere. I don't know what it is. I personally don't understand it, but many people just seem to accumulate them coming home from like nights out or something, and I just thought it was quite realistic, and I decided to add one into the kitchen and also into the back garden. I also tried to place down like rubbish as well in the kitchen. I placed down one of the, I think it's called Zoomers delivery bags. I imagine this frat house, they never cook. I imagine they always get Zoomers, or what I like to refer to as a Sims version of Uber Eats or Deliveroo, and they just never cook. And so there's going to be the bags that they were, you know, delivered their food in the kitchen somewhere, and so I added some of them in there. I added some of the trash or the rubbish from Eco Lifestyle. It's weird, I just called it trash, but I added some of the kind of rubbish from Eco Lifestyle into the kitchen as well, but it's the rubbish that looks like it could actually be an object and like a kind of clutter object. So I added some kind of like strawberry milk and water bottles and some cans and stuff, and it just, you know, again, it just looks really realistic. I also added a bin bag next to the bin because in my experience, no one takes the bin out in uni, and so I just thought I'd add that in as well. But anyway, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on into the laundry room or the utility room. Now, if you don't want to play with laundry when you go to university, then obviously you can switch it out to maybe be a really big bathroom or something, or maybe if you wanted it to be a little library, you could honestly change it to be whatever you want it to be. But realistically, when you move out and you go to uni, you get hit with the reality that I've got to do my own washing now. And if you want to play with that realism aspect of the game, I thought I'd add one in. I personally like to do a lot of like laundry. I like to get my Sims to hoover quite a lot, or vacuum, whatever you want to call it. I like to do the very boring tasks in actual real life but in the game. I don't know what it is, but I like realism in my builds and also in my actual gameplay that I do. But you know, of course you can delete it and replace it with something else. But now I have actually moved on to upstairs of this build. I've actually started off by furnishing one of the bedrooms. So I actually tried to split up the bedrooms in the way that I was furnishing, because I felt like if I was just to basically do the same kind of room over and over again, it'll be a bit boring. So I'm starting off with one of the rooms which has 2 single beds in, and then in a minute I'm going to move into, I think it's the double room, and then I'll move into the single room, and then I'll run back round to another room with another 2 single beds in. Hope you know what I mean. But basically I didn't want to have footage of me furnishing 2 very similar rooms right next to each other, because that would be quite boring. But in here I tried to go for quite a red theme. So as you would have seen on the bedspreads, I actually used the Foxbury logo? Yeah, logo. You can call it logo or mascot, whatever you want to call it as. But I used that in there, and it was kind of like a dark wood, black kind of furniture theme, and then with loads of different posters and closet items. In the actual like bedrooms themselves, I tried to keep very minimal in terms of actual activities, because I feel like the students would never actually be in their bedrooms. They would literally just go into their bedrooms to work on their term papers and to sleep. Everything else, like activity wise, is downstairs, either in the lounge room, in the garden, or in the basement or whatnot. I didn't want them to just be restricted to their rooms in terms of activities, and so I just tried to keep it minimum. All I put in there was some beds. I also put a wardrobe. I put a desk for each sim. There is also laptops as well, which I never know whether to place laptops into like dorms or university housing, because if you have a sim move in, then they might have their own laptop. So I never know what to do. I decided to place them down. Obviously, if you want your sim to actually move into this frat house and you actually have your own laptop, then what I would do is place the build down and then go into the build mode before you actually move a sim in, because with university housing you can't actually edit the house once your sim is moved in. You can with a cheat, which I've forgotten right now off the top of my head. What I'll do is I'll remember the cheat in a minute and then I'll put it on the screen now. But I think it's bb.enable free build off memory, but I'll put the proper one on the screen somewhere. So if you actually did want to move into this house and you maybe wanted to change a thing or two quickly and you didn't want to have to move them out, then you can quickly enter that cheat and then just change something. But yeah, I decided to add the laptops in anyway. But moving on, I've started furnishing what I imagine to be the president of this frat's house bedroom. And so I really wanted there to be some kind of visual lore with this sim. So I wanted to purposely give them the biggest room in this whole entire frat house. And so as you can see, it's quite big compared to the other ones. It's got a double bed in it. It's got a really nice big wardrobe system. It's got quite a big desk. The other desks that I've actually done in every other bedroom were just a single desk that we got from City Living, but in this room I decided to give them the big desk. It's also got 3 monitors. It's actually 1 computer, and then I actually just placed down 2 TVs either side of it. And when I was playtesting it, my sim was actually able to watch TV while sitting on the desk chair. Unfortunately, it doesn't work because I think it's too far away if your sims want you to watch it on the bed, because now your sims can actually watch TV whilst laying in bed, which you think would have been in the game since base game, but no, that was actually pretty recently added. But unfortunately your sims can't actually lay on the bed and watch TV, but you know, they can sit down at their desk and watch TV. I did actually add one of the video console stations below the desk. Now I actually added that to look like it was a PC, because I imagined they had this really big PC system built, like a custom PC, and that was there underneath the desk. Now the way that I've actually placed it doesn't work, but I didn't place it to actually be a workable video gaming station. If you wanted to, I'm sure you could probably just play around with it and you could get it so it'll be usable. But yeah, if you're wondering, the video game station I made so it purposely wasn't a video gaming station. I kind of just used the console as decoration for a custom built PC. It's basically what I was doing. But anyway, now moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on into another bedroom. This is the single bedroom for, you know, a single sim to live in. I was thinking that maybe if you wanted to go to university, like get your sims to go, with this house, you kind of have multiple different housing options. Say if you wanted to have the real university experience in the US, because in the UK and the US it's very different. You don't share rooms stereotypically in the UK, but in the US it's quite common to have a roommate. If you wanted to play through that kind of gameplay, then there is 2 bedrooms with single beds in, or if you wanted to have a double bed, maybe your Sim's got a partner, then you know there's a double bedroom. Or if you wanted just to have a small little compact room, then you've also got this small little compact room. I feel like there's kind of like a bedroom for every kind of want that you would want in like a housing situation in the game. Maybe my Sims are just really antisocial, but whenever I get my Sims to actually go to uni, they always have a bedroom by themselves. I never get them to share. I think I might have got them to share when Discover University just came out, but then I just got sick of it because the roommates will sometimes just go on your computer or play around and mess around with your Sims items, and it used to annoy me. So I always now seem to, whenever I do play with university, get my Sim to move into a dorm, which to be fair, actually half the time, being truthful, half the time my Sims do university from home, because I feel like some of the houses that we've actually got in the game just don't really cater to the university needs that I want. But I feel like now I've got a sorority and I've got a fraternity house. So I've got basically them 2 kind of housing situations. Plus I've actually also built a university housing kind of lot, which wasn't just for a sorority or a frat. It was just kind of like a university place. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a card on the screen now, and I'll also try and link the sorority house that I've done as well at the end of this video if you're curious and you want to see that, because I built that a really long time ago and I really love that build. But anyway, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on into the final room. In this room I tried to go for a blue theme, so you can see the bedspread that I used is kind of like this blue striped one, and in here it's pretty much the same objects that I used in the first room that I did. So it's got, you know, like a desk area, a wardrobe. There's also a guitar in here and a bookcase, which I didn't actually add into the other one, but maybe these Sims pay a little bit more money for the accommodation, who knows. I also placed down one of the cardboard boxes which we got from Eco Lifestyle. I use them as storage boxes all the time. You can actually put things in them. Your Sims won't actually have like an animation going up to the box, but you can basically click on them and then just put all your fossils and all of your stuff that you want to have and not sell but don't want in your Sims pockets. They're really useful, and I felt like it was really realistic. You know, they've moved into uni, and how's all the stuff going to get there? You're going to have some moving boxes, and so I decided to put one into that room. But now moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on downstairs into the basement, and I've actually started off by furnishing one of the bathrooms. There is a total of 3 bathrooms in this house. There is kind of one on each level of the house. So there's one in the basement, which is the one that I'm doing. There is one upstairs, just off the utility room or just off the laundry room. I don't know if you remember, but when we was decorating it, there was actually a door in that room, and that just ended up leading it to a small little half bathroom. I was thinking that when these Sims throw all their big frat parties, their guests are going to need a wee. Where they're going to go for a wee? They're not going to want to go all the way upstairs. And so I made sure there was a half bathroom downstairs, and then upstairs as well there is another bathroom. But the upstairs bathroom is slightly smaller than the one that I just showed, and so I thought it would be best off for me to show you the biggest one, which is downstairs in the basement, which actually happens to be right next to the gym, because I feel like you need a bathroom next to a gym. But as you can see, I've now moved on into the gym. So in the gym there is all the workout equipment that your Sims would want. There is the little, I don't know what they're called, like leg press things, the gym equipment, not very technical here. There is a punching bag, and there is also some treadmills, as well as a TV, and I'm just going around kind of the room and decorating it with loads of different scratches on the wall and tears and stuff. I try to do that in every single room as well. I tried to add realistic details because, as you can see just from the clutter, it's not a very well kept place to live, and so there's going to be a few tears here and there. There might be a few cracks in the wall. But now I have actually moved on into the actual basement, how do I class it? The big room in the basement, where I imagine when it's winter time and it's snowing outside, your Sims would come in here and they would have their parties. Now, one thing that I wanted to make sure that I actually included in this build somewhere was one of them little research station machines. Now, I think it's either when you're part of the debate or when you're part of university and you're trying to do the aspiration, and also when you're a teacher as well, I've noticed through gameplay. But basically your Sims will actually need to use that research station at some point, and it is just incredibly long going through loading screens to go and find one in the library and then sit down and then go back. And I just thought I'd just make it easier and put one in the basement. So I placed it down on this desk, which looks like the desk has been there for years. You know, it's got all these different boxes on it. It looks a little bit old. It's actually a writer's desk, which is an unlockable from base game. But then just next to that we have one of the flea market sofas. I really wanted to use sofas that I feel like were maybe recycled, or, you know, just sofas that were found by the side of the road, and they've just kind of taken them in as their own seating areas. Then there is also a card table in the middle. There's another ping pong table. There's a dartboard. Oh, also the fridge. You're probably wondering, why is there a fridge there? I actually found it from Eco Lifestyle in the live edit menu, and I was thinking that maybe it used to be a drinks fridge, but then someone just happened to pull the door off and now it's just a doorless fridge. Again, I just feel like it fits in with university, and I feel like it's a little bit realistic. Maybe not that realistic, because that would probably be quite hard to pull a fridge door off. But regardless, I wanted to add it because I felt like it just fitted into this room. But anyway, guys, I am actually going to end this voiceover here. So as always, you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicaPieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicaPieYT or just the hashtag JessicaPie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speed building video. Bye guys!